Hi, this is a video about progressive taxation, and I've picked up this on a podcast. So I'm just going to let it run and discuss why my progressive taxation rate goes from 0%, and then you pick at what level, or I'd say it should be at 20% of GDP, the 100% mark. What, $10 billion if you earn in a year, then every dollar after that, 10 billion is at 100% tax. And there's a linear line, and that's the key to it. It goes from 0%, so the first dollar anyone earns in the country is 0% taxed. And then as each dollar is added in an annual cycle, it goes up in a progressive manner.
Crates to the short guy so he can see along with us. But how do you determine equity based on the color of someone's skin?
So these guys are starting off talking about equality and equity in the United States context, and then it rolls into the...
Or they're, like characteristics that can't necessarily be quantified, right? So when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez pushes a bill forward that's purporting to be about the environment, but includes racial equity clauses, are we to assume that her ideology states that if you are not white, you are poor by like it's a guarantee? Or do we have to assume that each individual has different advantages, different cards to play, and some are born wealthy, some aren't? And yes, there's historic racism, but we can't make those assumptions.
This is a debate that I'm not going to enter to this time. We're just going to roll through this until we get to the, if you want, make a comment in the comments, and I may address it at another time. But it's a subject at this stage. We're just doing progressive taxation.
Right. So this is to me one of the biggest problems I've been having as like a lifelong left-leaning individual is who do I vote for? Right. I was a big fan of Bernie Sanders for a while, but then Bernie Sanders gets up on stage at the debates and says white people don't know what it's like to be poor.
Well, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Go to fucking West Virginia and visit the coal miners.
Right.
So that's Joe Rogan, that's his podcast over in the States. So, Joe, permission to use you as a background with your guest. Apologies, I haven't... it'll be here. Your guest's name is...
And, what's really weird...
Tim
saw
Pool.
One of Bernie's tweets that I looked at and I said, oh, come on, man. This is fucked up.
Yeah.
He was talking about how much more money white men make than black women, than Latino men, than all these different things. And what he didn't include was Asian men.
Well,
because Asian men make more money.
But
now the point here was that they start off with George Carlin and the 7 words you're not allowed to say on television. So obviously there's some cussing, and if you in New Zealand and you don't like cussing, I understand. However, don't worry about the noise. Think about the signal.
Here's what I think a lot of people on the right miss. He said pay equity, not pay equality. Okay? I think perhaps we should stop assuming they don't know what they're saying. Because a lot of people assume what they're saying is, the gender earnings gap is real, but the gender pay gap, is not. If a man and a woman are both offered the exact same job, exact same experience and education, women tend to get, I think it's like 3 to 5% less, and many people believe that's because they're less likely to negotiate, which is why you have like lean in, tell women to be more, trying to be more assertive. But it's not this 77% number. But there is an earnings gap, right?
So we're discussing a number of topics which, when I said I don't want to get into, the reason for progressive taxation, and it fits into a sweep of things. I'm a fan of gold and silver standard. They have it in the United States Constitution around at a state level, and so. To me, this subject is one, but I just like to pick out the thread of progressive taxation.
The median salaries of men and women are different. So when Bernie says white men make X more than these other demographics, he said in his tweet, pay equity, not equality. He doesn't want fair pay for everyone based on job. He's actually saying it doesn't matter what job you have, everyone should be paid the same.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
But then you see what Cortez releases on her website. If you're unwilling to work, they'll provide economic security. They actually, I believe they took it off the site, right? But I think when they include it in the bill that they want equity, not equality, when they include on their website, if you're unwilling, they'll pay you, and when Bernie says equity as well, I think they're not talking about equality. Like, I don't think, the average American understands what they're actually saying is you should be paid a flat rate, period.
And when you're talking about the pay gap being different from men and women, we should clarify that what you're saying essentially is that men choose different jobs and they work more hours, and that's the reason why they make that much more money, where it's 77 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, there was another study came out recently that said that hours worked was almost the 100% of the reason why men and women earn different at a median salary. In some areas, women actually earn more than men.
One of the interesting things with elections, and I'm a fan of the axiom when the majority of women are in the elected bodies in parliaments of the world, that will be the end of war. So at the moment we've got about 66% of countries that have a democracy, and there are countries, and that's a growth area. And then once that happens, then you have the elevation of women into those elected positions, and so it's a fascinating one in the States where we're allowed to have this discussion.
I think 7 cities. I think this was on Pew. Again, you fact check me if you get. Everybody thinks I'm wrong or whatever. But I believe it was 7 cities where women out earn men by like seriously high numbers, like up to 20%. So there's a lot of issues when it comes to the pay gap and equality. But without going on a tangent in that area, I think what ends up happening is, I saw Bernie's tweet and I responded to it by saying, "Good news, Bernie. Pay equality is enshrined in law." And I cited 3 examples of where it's illegal to discriminate based on gender. And then someone pointed out to me, "Tim, he didn't say equality. He said equity. That would imply it doesn't matter what job you have. A petroleum engineer should earn the same as a store clerk at H&M. That's equity. That just because you have an advantage because of your..."
Notice how emphatic the Mr. Paul is, and that's one of the things high IQ are noted for. They are quick to answer the questions and they're emphatic with their answers.
Education doesn't mean you should earn more than somebody else. You see what I'm saying?
So the fact that there's people that actually believe that don't believe that first of all, that's going to absolutely discourage people from trying to succeed. Why would you? If you could get the same amount as a CEO of Exxon as you can working at 21 Forever 21 or whatever, Abercrombie and Fitch, why would...
using the word forever, was well done.
Why would you try hard? Why would you succeed? Why would you excel?
I think it's fair to point out some people would. I don't
know if they would, if there's no real, other than social status, if there's...
Joe Rogan's an excellent interviewer in the fact that this is the quintessential discussion that these 2 gentlemen are having. And when I say quintessential, for example, war. If I said to you that war is 2 people, they dig a hole, both jump into it, one comes out alive and buries the hole. That's war. It's just that it's multiplied across a front around the world and all the rest of it. And the numbers are larger. So the economy is this discussion, but it's just like a trench where it's next shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to shoulder. So this discussion that these guys are having is the quintessential. Now, Jordan Peterson talks about the Pareto distribution, which is if gas is released from a spray can into a vacuum, the way that it gets distributed across that space is what the Pareto distribution, and it's a natural law, and in economics and bits and pieces it applies, and so that's why I like the Pareto distribution to be applied to it. So this is where we're going with this progressive taxation. Let's have a listen.
No real positive consequences.
I think social status might be one of the prime driving factors of most people.
I don't know, man. Not enough to really encourage innovation and progress.
I can agree with that for sure, but I also think there's a saying that I was told a lot, that people don't get rich because they want money. They get rich because they're passionate about something and the money comes after. They always say that the money comes after or something like that. And I'd point out every day I take no days off. It's been a couple of years with me not taking any days off. I work literally every day, full time. Right now I'm producing 6 YouTube videos every day. Only one.
So this gentleman's producing 6 YouTube videos every day, and obviously it's monetized, and so he just loves it, but he makes some money from it. But his point, that do something that you're passionate about and the money will follow, is an interesting one. We can tease that out later, but let's just get on quickly without rambling so that we can get right into the progressive taxation part of this.
Them is a real
7 days a week?
7 days a week, nonstop, for 2 years straight.
fuck you doing to yourself?
I like it. It's fun, and that's the thing. I'm not doing it because there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I do it because, I see things on. So for the most part, on my main YouTube channel, I do one video every day at 4 p.m., which tends to be just like a news analysis piece. But I'm not perfect. Sometimes I, get all hyperbolic and stuff. My second channel is me just ranting and, not really swearing, but still just like heavy opinion stuff. Mm-hmm. I do it because it's fun. I see something, I want to explore it. I used to travel all the time. When I worked at Vice, I was in all these different countries.
Vice is a video, like they do documentaries, young people going out and very good videos. And obviously there's a structure behind it. But obviously the training worked out perfectly for him. I must have made a mistake by pressing the wrong button here. So let's see if we can get back to where we are. We may have lost the place. We'll see. Hopefully we haven't. So this guy did Vice.
In all these dangerous places, not because I wanted to have a name for myself, not because I wanted to make money. I wanted to watch a revolution. I wanted to know why it was happening, and I want to talk to the people who are experiencing it. So I can relate to people who say money isn't a motivator for sure, but I've also talked to people in Scandinavia who have told me they sort of give up at a certain point because I can't remember which country it was. It may have been Sweden or Norway, but these two women told me that after like $77,000 per year, they tax like 80% of your income, so people just stop. They literally just stop.
Well, that's another proposition, right? This is something else that's been discussed in terms of anyone who makes more than X amount per year, taxing them over 70%.
So I agree with the progressive tax.
Right, so we're into progressive taxation now. One of the things, if you like, is an axiom is guard against overproduction. So it's an important thing globally where you cut down